It's time for the Daily Stand Up Podcast presented by Agile Dad with your host, Lee Henson. Without any further ado, let's get started. I got another email from my dear friend Mike Cohn. And this one, the title cracked me up a little bit. The title says, "We can't fix every problem." And I love that title. So I'm going to go ahead and read through this email and, of course, give you my commentary. And once again, thanks, Mike, for the valuable emails. All the things you do at Mountain Goat Software are amazing. So thanks for all of your incredible insight and for the email communications. I love it. And it gives us a topic that we can talk about. So here it says, at almost every monthly Q&A session he holds for his members of his community, someone asked the question of how to solve dysfunctional management challenges. And he goes on to say, I hear it all. Now, I can tell you right now that in my classes, I hear same things. Leadership doesn't get it. Leadership, doesn't engage, or they're over engaged. So let's go through his list and see what challenges he points out. An impossible imposed deadline. You will get it done by this date. I hate those. An incredibly junior team that needs to perform at the expert level to meet that impossible deadline. Management who is assigning work to the team instead of letting the team volunteer and sign up for the work that they can complete. Management who holds the team accountable for their sprint plan, but then adds 50% more work during the sprint to what they already committed to. Or product owners who won't tell the team what to work on next, but then yell during the sprint review when it's the wrong thing or done incorrectly. And more, right? I can tell you right now, these qualms, these things that you're listing out here, Mike, are absolutely true. There are tons more too. I hear teams say the executive tells us they want something, but then won't tell us exactly what they want. Or the team says the executive is telling us exactly what they want to the nth degree of detail and looking over our shoulders to write each line of code as to make sure we don't make a mistake. Or the even worse, the opposite extreme, the leadership team is telling them to work magic to get this done. I don't care what you have to do, but this is what needs to be done, and no is not an option. I hear these things and it drives me crazy. And this is why Mike says I feel compelled to point out we cannot fix every problem. It's facts. We owe it to our employers to try, but our employers owe us a culture in which we can succeed. I like that line. We owe it to our employers to try our best, but our employers owe it to us in the form of a culture which we need to succeed. When they don't provide that culture, we have limited options. First, we should try to expose the problem or the effects of the problem, the symptoms, to others who may be in a better position to address the issue. Now, this is interesting because I've used this strategy and this strategy works. This is where even if I'm a frontline worker, I'll be like, I'll go up to someone and I'll say, hey, you're somebody I can really trust. Help me figure this out. I ran into this and this is what happened. And I tried this. And these are the solutions that I tried. What do you propose an alternative? Or what do you think we can do to get this resolved? And sometimes, even if that person may not have the answer, just proposing to them saying, hey, I trust you. What is your thoughts on this? What are your thoughts on this? It's going to open up a doorway of communication where that person's going to say, oh, wow, maybe I can go and pass this information along to someone else. Or maybe they do have an answer. I've had situations where I've done this, and the person that I expected to not have any answer at all had the exact answer that I needed. So what I'm trying to say is it doesn't hurt to try to expose the symptoms or expose the problem. Now, sometimes I get someone who doesn't like when I tell them about the problem. So instead, what they want to do is they want to come up with, it was their thought that they discovered the problem. So sometimes I find myself having to dance around the symptoms. Have you noticed lately that this has been happening? Or have you noticed that this trend has changed? And people are like, oh yeah, I wonder what's going on. Do you know that could be because of this? And I'm like, oh my goodness, I didn't even think of that. I'm so glad you thought of it. When in actuality, that was the exact topic I wanted to talk to them about, right? So sometimes finding that person who's in a better position to address the issue or have the conversation and leading them to the water is better than trying to force them to drink. Then, of course, if that fails, we either need to accept the status quo or move on. If you're excited to build a strong, agile team, but the organization assigned your team a product owner who insists on telling the team what to do and has no willingness to change or improve, you probably are not going to be very successful. I tell people this all the time. And the way I look at it is it's the difference between responsibilities and accountabilities. I think that sometimes we have things that we're responsible for doing and we should be flexible with those. And we have things that we're accountable for and we need to understand where those stand or where those sit, where those lie. But we can't go in with gunslinging every single time, right? We need to have a balanced approach of which things we're going to hold the sword for and which things we're just going to let go. And I think that sometimes we get so hung up on each and every detail that we forget that every battle's not worth fighting for, right? In the words of Olaf the Snowman, some people are not worth mounting for. Right? Just saying. You got to get to the crux of what's going on. So try to educate the person, try to persuade them, expose the bad behavior to stakeholders, anything that you can do to help garner support to get there. But if none of that works, sometimes, and here it is, you have to accept that you're not in a position, or I'm sorry, let me read that again. It says, if none of that works, sometimes you need to accept that you're in a position that you simply cannot change. And that is true. There have been times where I've wanted to change so bad, or I've wanted to make people aware. I saw the better that this would cause, and I could say it in 5 languages, present it 4 different ways. Do smoke signals, semaphore, you name it. I can even send a carrier pigeon with the message. Sometimes the other person just doesn't get it, right? Maybe they don't know Morse code. But the point is, you can be as obvious and direct as you want, and sometimes people just they don't want to hear that as the answer. If you've never watched that video, it's not about the nail. That video kind of sums it up, right? Sometimes it is about the nail, but sometimes the other person doesn't want to believe that it is about the nail. I think that if you focus your energy on things you can affect and change, and accept or move on from the unfortunate things that in work environments that you simply cannot change, you can be successful. But not every company culture out there will help you fully succeed with Agile. I think that sometimes we need to just face the fact that there are things in a company culture that we love, that we would never change or give up for anything in the world. And there are other things that we're just like, why is it this way? But I think that in all organizations and all companies I've been to, there's a balance of both. And I think that with us being in a position to encourage, enlighten, to share progress, to talk to others, I think that's going to cause us to be in a better position to impact change. But we can't just expect it to happen. Change doesn't happen overnight. People's opinions don't change on the fly. We need to really have a compelling story behind what we're trying to do. And I think that's the piece that we can affect. So, Mike, thanks again for an amazing email. Your emails are always so touching. If you have a topic you want to discuss, learn more at agiledad.com. We would love to hear from you. As always, we encourage you to stay healthy, stay well, and stay agile, my friends. Until next time, do take care.